Most of the time you can pick up a model right off the shelf and get straight to hacking, but you might run into a use case where the model kinda sucks. This is especially the case when you're dealing with non-English text. The translations can feel wooden, and overall, it would just be better if you could use a model that was specifically trained for your exact use case. One of the biggest examples of this is Bilek. It is a 7 billion parameter model that is trained on the Polish language. Bilek is not in the Ollama library by default, so you're gonna have to upload it yourself. Today, I'm going to show you how to upload your own models to Ollama so you can run them in the cloud. Before we get started though, I want to take some time to define some terms that the AI industry seems to just throw around willy-nilly without properly explaining. The first one is parameter. A model is effectively a bag of floating point numbers called parameters. We currently believe that having more parameters allows a model to more accurately capture the nuance and speech and definitions. But one of the main downsides is that a model with more parameters takes more memory to run. Quantization. Quantization is when you take model parameters that are one format and convert them down to another format. Usually this means taking a model with float 16 weights and turning it down into int 4 weights. This effectively throws away 12 bytes of precision, but allows you to be able to run bigger models on lesser GPUs. And finally, fine-tune. Fine-tuning is how you take a model that was published upstream and then add capabilities to it downstream. Uploading an Ollama model is easier than you think, and there's 3 basic ways to do this, and they range from easiest to having to install a Python virtual environment. Don't worry, it's not that hard. However, before you get started doing anything, just search the Ollama website. Somebody probably already uploaded it for you. Why do work you don't need to? Download it, try it out, see if it works, and it'll usually work out pretty great. Okay, let's assume that you haven't actually been able to be that lucky and nobody else has uploaded it to the Ollama hub. The next thing you need to do is figure out if the model is compatible with Ollama at all. And there's 2 basic questions you can ask yourself to form a general rule of thumb if it's compatible or not. The first question is, was the model released within the last 24 hours? If it was, it's probably not going to work. You might have to wait a little bit. Is the model based on something that's already in the Ollama library? If it is, then congratulations, you're going to be fine. If not, you may need to wait for Ollama or llama.cpp to support that model. Just wait a day or so, the update will come. Most fine-tunes tell you what base model they used, so you can use this as a way to gauge compatibility. So let's say you know your model is compatible with Ollama and you want to start using it. One of the first things you can do is search Hugging Face for the name of that model plus gguf. gguf is the model format that Ollama and llama.cpp use. If someone else has already made gguf versions of your model, you don't need to do anything. You can just download it, import it into Ollama, use it, and then you're done. If you can't find a gguf version, this may be a signal that the model isn't compatible with Ollama. However, it might also be a signal that the model is not commonly used, so you may have to convert it to gguf yourself. Find the model and then check it out with Git and wait for the large files to unsmudge their way onto your disk. Ollama can convert some safe tensors formats to gguf for you. If you're lucky, you can download the repo with Git, pass it in your model file, and then maybe it'll just work out. If not, then things get a little more complicated and we're gonna have to deal with Python. By the way, I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to be giving you Homebrew commands. If you install Homebrew on Linux using Linux Brew, it'll work. And if you're on Windows, use WSL. It's free. Clone the llama.cpp repo from GitHub and enter into it with your terminal. Then install Python at 3.11 and pipenv from Homebrew. Run pipenv-python 3.11 to set up your pip file, and then pipenv shell in order to create an automatically managed virtual environment. Install the requirements with pip install-r requirements.txt. All you need to do now is run the convert-hf to gguf script, wait a second for it to think, and then you have a gguf file that you can load right into Ollama. Victory! By the way, if you're trying to run a model in the cloud and you don't know what GPU you need, here's a couple rules of thumb to help you figure it out. If your model is 13 billion parameters or less, it'll run on fly.io with any of the GPUs. This includes popular choices like Mistral, Llama, Phi, DeepSeek Coder, and most of the other models that have been published, like Gemma. 30 billion or less parameter models can be run on any of the GPUs as long as you quantize it down to Q8, or 8 bits per parameter. If you have an A100 80GB card attached to your machine, you can run it at float 16. If the model you want to run is 70 billion parameters or less, you're going to need the A180GB card and to quantize it down to 4 bits. Anything larger than 70 billion parameters starts to run into the "it depends" category. The new Mistral Large does just barely run on an A180GB. Anyways, I hope this helps you get the models you want running on the cloud. If you want to deploy Ollama to your private network, check out the Ollama tutorial linked in the description. Otherwise, hit subscribe, smash that bell button, leave a comment, do a like, do the algorithm things, and you'll be in the know for next time. Stay frosty.